I had cervical cancer early, screen detected. I got treated, and I'm standing before you. There is no further evidence to show that it is curable. It's only a matter of life and death. Then you must take the bull by the horn by ensuring that this patient survives. I did the 56-hour call, but I do not want any other person to do it. I think that is the mindset you should be having. They feel every northern girl is there. She's been bullied. She's been locked up in the house. She doesn't have a word of her own. She cannot take decisions for herself. We have lots of challenges in our system. And if we allow those challenges get to us, then we may not be able to do what we're meant to do.
My guest today is a senior lecturer at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist at the Affiliate Teaching Hospital, who is passionate about gynecologic oncology and aims to reduce the burden of cancers in Nigerian women through advocacy, clinical care, and research. She's the founding member of the Transatlantic Gynecologic Cancer Research Consortium, a member of the Gynecologic Oncology Society of Nigeria, Nigerian Society for Colposcopy and Cervical Pathology, International Gynecologic Cancer Society, and the African Organization for Research and Training in Cancer, and Pioneer Secretary of the Cancer Health Fund for Cervical Cancer at Abbott. Good morning, Dr. Aisha. I'm very happy that you're able to create time out of your busy schedule to have this conversation with me.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Some weeks back in one of our morning reviews, I don't know if you recall, you mentioned that if you're mid-HOD, you are going to change some things in the department by matter of executive order. That really got me a bit excited because with what we are discussing, it spoke so well to the fact that there were some things that needed to change in the way we approach, healthcare, work generally, and just needed to change. It just needed to change, and if it had to be done by executive order, then we are very much willing to do it. Another instance, still within these preceding weeks, I met you in the theater. There was a patient that was wheeled into the theater, and for some reasons, the peri-op, we are just hanging around, trying to sort this out, trying to sort out that. And it was an emergency. And you really wanted the patient to go into the theater, kept talking to them to, okay, hasten up, let's get into the theater. Hasten up, let's get into the theater. And it didn't seem like they were going to move in anytime soon. And so you just got tired of the whole thing. And then you are wheeling the patient by yourself into the theater. These two instances really stood out for me. It communicated to me that you were someone that had that drive to get things done, that drive to make things happen, that drive to, and that's something that always gets to me. So I don't know if you can make some comments around that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, you're very correct. I can't remember most of these examples you have given. I honestly can't remember, but I know it's something I do. It's something I can do. We work in a system that is not perfect. Having perfect systems, well, there are good systems, but I don't think there's a perfect system. We have lots of challenges in our system, and if we allow those challenges get to us, then we may not be able to do what we're meant to do, which is helping patients and caring for them. So like the scenario you gave about me trying to wheel a patient into theater myself, and when the delays are man-made, as in they're just delaying for no valid reason, you have to really stand your ground to insist and say, this is an emergency. You are the one that saw the patient. You are the one that know the implication of that delay. They probably do not know. You're just meeting them at the red line for the first time. So you have to show that sense of urgency that this patient needs to be operated. And what I always say is, you don't have to know the patient. Treat every patient equally. I have tried for a very long time in my practice to treat every patient like a VIP. What I mean is, I see the patient in front of me. If this patient was the president's wife, how will I treat her? And I have that mindset. If she was the governor's wife or the CMD's wife, how will I treat her? But we have this attitude when patients are a nobody, when they come from rural areas, we treat them with so much unkind ways. But then if she's related to somebody we know, or a colleague, or a politician, then we go all out. You see everyone rolling around the patient. So I think that's not right. I think every patient should be treated well, with kindness, and we should try our best possible to do what we can when we can, not when it is too late for the patient to get care. Then there are some things that you just have to take into your hands. Like a patient needs to get into theater in 30 minutes. Will the patient to theater? If you say you're waiting for the health assistant, they may say he's not around, he has gone to eat, he has gone to pray, they have sent him to CSSD and stuff like that. And you know these patients cannot wait. If it's an elective case, fine. You wait for the health assistant, but when this patient cannot wait, when it's a matter of life and death, for example, a ruptured ectopic, she's probably bleeding all her blood volume into her abdomen, then you must take the bull by the horn by ensuring that this patient survives. Yes, I know it's not our job. We do a lot of things outside our job. It's because of the system. But who is the system? Is you and I. If the system is not working, we are the ones not making it work. And if the system is working, then we are the ones making it work. So instead of pointing fingers at management, the hospital management, we are the hospital management, you and I. So it's the same thing about the country and citizenship. We keep pointing about the leaders, bad governance, but if we try in our own ways to end bad citizenship, I mean, the leaders are from us, the followers. They pick them from us. So if we are good, then our leaders are going to be good. It's just natural.
All right. So let me paint a picture, a better picture of that conversation in the morning review. I think you shared a story of some time when you were a resident, senior resident, I think, that you had to do a 48 hours call, and then came back the next morning and all the stress around that. And I think what you are speaking to changing particularly was this 48 hours call. I think.
Yeah, it's actually 56 hours and not 48 hours. It is 56 hours because when you finish the weekend call for 48 hours, you continue on Monday till 4 p.m. So you understand, that's additional 8 hours. So that makes it 56 hours uninterrupted work. It's not compatible with sanity. It's not compatible with existence. It's not compatible with normal thinking. I mean, people get burnt out. When you are burnt out, you will not work well. You will even affect the patient you're trying to manage. So I think it is something that should be scrapped. We have been diplomatic about it. We have talked to leaders about it. We have formed committees about it, but it's still not working. And I remember when I said, if I ever become a head of department in obstetrics and gynecology, the first thing I will scrap is the 56 hours straight call. It's not humane, honestly. And I think apart from the doctors that suffer this anguish, the patients also suffer. Indirectly, untold, medical errors are bound to happen when somebody has not slept. And we know that in ONG, you may not sleep for those 48 hours. Or you may just get a nap, sitting out in a chair for maybe 30 minutes. And then I'm expected to continue. And there are doctors that have lost their lives driving home after a call. Who knows? Probably they slept off behind the wheels. Yet, I think we are just being unfair to ourselves. We have the numbers to be able to conveniently take single day calls. Then why should we insist on doing a 56-hour straight call? I mean, there are women amongst us. Some are pregnant, some are breastfeeding, some have very young children, and then they're in the hospital for 58 hours, probably not sleeping. I think it's unfair. And I think it's something that is very easy to change, but because we are quite resistant to change, we say, okay, I also did the same thing when I was a resident, so it should continue.
Funny enough, such comments.
Yes, that comment is very annoying. I do not think that because you suffer during your time, then you will normalize suffering. It's very wrong. I did the 56-hour call, but I do not want any other person to do it. I think that is the mindset we should be having. So I'm honestly calling on everybody in a leadership position. Whatever it is you did not like, stop it.
Stop it.
That is what I tell people. As a resident, I hated the fact that I'll be in the labor ward, my consultant is not there. I get to take some decisions I'm not too sure are correct because I don't have somebody there to guide me. And when you become a consultant, be going to the labor ward. Because you didn't like it when you were a resident and they left you alone. So don't say, after all, I did residency alone. There was no consultant with me. So now I'm a consultant. I'm also not going to go to labor ward. No, whatever it is you did not like, please don't do it when you get there. So now we complain about our leaders. They don't do this. They don't do that. They don't give us power. When you become a leader, please give the citizens power. Something like that. It's not rocket science. And I realized that everything you set your mind out to do is actually doable.
It's doable.
Nothing is undoable. That's what I have found in my little niche of leadership. I have realized that everything I set my mind out to do, it may be difficult, but it is doable. So if you want to stop this 56-hour call that I don't think is compatible with humanity, we should stop it. It's doable. You want to give the citizens power as a president? It is doable. Just give them. So it's just having that determination, that mindset, and then, of course, having the right people to work with, creating the right systems, rewarding people that make the system work, punishing people that don't make the system work. Because it's just a human thing. The carrot and stick there is just a typical definition of humans. Humans will be able to put in their best when they know you're going to reward their hard work. And humans will lag behind if they know that you're not going to punish their lack of hard work. So carrot and stick is an approach that honestly every leader should implement, and we should try our best possible to put our mind at doing something and executing it to the end, rather than giving 1 million reasons why that thing is not possible. If you understand what I
mean. Yes, it's very much understood. I bring this up in the larger context of health and the holistic definition of health. I mean, not just the absence of physical illness or of disease or infection, but mental, physical, financial, social, and moving even outside the healthcare space, in other areas of work. There are a lot of things that happen in the workplace that end up putting people under undue psychological stress, undue pressure, and all of that affect other aspects of their life.
Yeah.
Some things that result in workplace hazard,
that
put their health at risk, and all of those. And sometimes all it takes to actually do something about it is when I say an authoritative force that says, okay, let's do something about it. I know these days persons don't like the idea of authoritative leadership, but I think it has a role to play in leadership. I mean,
absolutely. There are different leadership styles.
Yeah.
And as a leader, what I think is you employ the leadership style that fits the situation. There is a leadership style where it's largely consultative. You talk with your followers, in quotes, that, okay, what do you think we should do? Majority feels we should do it this way. They say, okay, then let's do it this way. Now, there is another leadership style where it is, largely autocratic. You just say, this is what should be done, irrespective of what people want. Now, there are situations where you will apply a particular style, and there are situations where you will not apply that particular style. So if, for example, there are things that are a matter of life and death, there are things that will affect patient care. Let's say people do not review patients, or a consultant does not review a patient 1 week after admission. There is no justification for that. There is no sitting the consultants down and asking, okay, when do you think is the right time to go and review a patient? Okay, majority voted that it should be after 10 days. I mean, that's not when you're going to apply that consultative leadership style at all. So you say, okay, henceforth, as a rule, you make a memo, you print it out. It should be a documented evidence, and you say the repercussion for not following it. Henceforth, every patient that comes to the hospital must be reviewed within 24 or 48 hours, or whatever timeline you have made, by a consultant or by the head of the unit, something like that. Failure to do this, dash. So in that case, I don't think getting people's opinions matters. This is my own personal experience. However, there are cases where you say, okay, let's get people's opinion on this thing. It's not a matter of life and death. What do the people think? So I think as a leader, you should be able to blend and mix different leadership styles. There should be a style where, in fact, you will always consult the people, and they will think, oh my gosh, she's always consulting us. She's such a nice person. And there are times where you just take the bull by the horn. This is what I want to be done. And if it is not done, this is the repercussion. So I think it has to be a mixture, depending on the situation that you find yourself and how important it is.
So the first time that I said I need to have a conversation, if possible, was when I saw your documentary, What I Do Not Know Will Not Kill Me. I remember seeing the word, and I was identified. I said, I know this word. This is ABU. This is Ahmadu Bello University Hospital. So I just asked around and they said, oh, yes, it's the word. It was done by Dr. Aisha Mustapha. And I was like, wow, really? Because I'm someone that's interested in other things outside pure clinical medicine. And so I was just wondering why you decided to tell that's although I couldn't see the screening. The screening was in Lagos and Abuja.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering. First, I think I would love to see it. I don't know if there will be another screening, another time.
Yes.
And I'm also thinking around what made you want to. I'm also thinking around what made you want to do that documentary.
So for your first question, yes, there will be another screening in June, and we are planning it to be in Abuja. But it's still work in progress and the details will be released very soon. All the screenings have been free to attend. And for the second part of the question, what made me do that documentary film? It's about telling my own story. The documentary is actually about telling my own story. How I combine the multiple roles as a clinician, as a researcher, as an advocate, and a survivor of cervical cancer. So we have realized over time that when you tell your own story, people tend to listen more and it causes a better behavior change. We all know the impact of cervical cancer in our environment. The burden is enormous. It's the commonest gynecologic cancer. It is very highly lethal. The case fatality rate is much higher than that of breast cancer and stuff like that. And then we know the risk factors. We know that cervical cancer is 100% preventable. We know that the World Health Organization has outlined a very ambitious, though achievable, roadmap to cervical cancer elimination. We know that Nigeria is one of the 193 countries that signed to actually be on the path to elimination by 2030. But then the indices are still bad, even though there is prevention. Nigeria has rolled out vaccination. How many eligible girls have been able to get vaccines in the routinization phase? Yes, the MAC campaign, that's the multi-age cohort campaign, was successful, but then the routinization has been lagging behind. So all of this came together and we need to tell the story of patients with cervical cancer. I think people will say, I don't need the vaccine because they don't know the burden of cervical cancer, because they've not seen a patient dying from cervical cancer, because they don't have a relative who has suffered it. But it's very unlikely to see somebody who has been experienced or somebody whose mother or sister or wife has died from cervical cancer rejecting the vaccine. I have not seen even one. So it's from an angle of ignorance. And so we have been doing lots of advocacy. We take the microphone, go into the community, climb on top of the table and say, hey, go get your vaccine, go get screened. But it hasn't been doing much. And so we thought about it. Now, Story Me Academy is from the embassy of the French embassy. They were the ones that put together these filmmakers. And one of the filmmakers, Miss Annabelle, was actually interested in telling a cervical cancer story. So she reached out to me. Okay. And then that was how we sat down and made the documentary film. So the film is about my journey as a clinician that treats patients with cervical cancer, somebody that does research into cervical cancer, and also somebody who advocates for cervical cancer elimination, screening, and HPV vaccination. So she was able to come into the hospital to film me when I was working. She saw me operating a cervical cancer patient, reviewing cervical cancer patients on the ward and also in the clinic. And she also was able to follow me to one of the numerous outreaches we do for HPV vaccination and cervical cancer prevention. So it's just a 20-minute documentary film. The trailer is just about 3 minutes, and it just tells the story. So it's yet to be released, but it's still currently being screened.
Okay. So it will still come out.
It will still come out, and everybody will be able to access it. It's just a matter of time.
Because when you say this, another screen is coming up in Abuja, I was like, I will not
be Abuja in June. No, it will soon be out. It will soon be out. Maybe after the third screening. I'm not sure. We'll have to sit down with the documentary filmmakers.
One of the things that I am interested in outside medicine, what I'm doing now, is storytelling. Because I believe storytelling is very powerful. I mean, you might be interested to find out that I'd previously heard SR tell the story about your 56 hours call, but interestingly, he was saying it in defense or 56 hours call. They were saying anything different. And it was like, Dr. Aisha, this, that she went through all of that. She's the consultant now, and you're telling me you have to go. And I was like, and so when he told the story the second time, I was like, the same story. So I think there's power in telling your story by your own self, telling your experience with the world, the way you see it and the way you understand it. And,
Absolutely.
it's, I don't want to go political, but
Yeah.
in a way, it's part of the story. Nigeria and how Nigeria is being told, Africa and how Africa has been perceived outside the world and all
Absolutely.
around.
And North, and how the story of the North is being told. They feel every Northern girl is there. She's being bullied. She's being locked up in the house. She doesn't have a word of her own. She cannot take decisions for herself. Those stereotypes.
Yeah.
But it's not always like that.
Mm.
I mean, we know that it's not always true. So yeah. So honestly, I also believe in the power of storytelling. I've gone for storytelling workshops organized by MOF. MOF is a storytelling organization, and they have done storytelling workshops, and I have appreciated the impact of storytelling, especially telling your own story. The I in that story makes all the difference because it means you know what you are saying. So if I come to tell you about the story of somebody in the United States of America who had brain surgery, I am not telling it. It didn't happen to me. But when I say I had cervical cancer, early, screen detected, I got treated, and I'm standing before you, there is no further evidence to show that it is curable than the fact that I am here. It was detected through screening, so that means screening is important. I have been operated twice, it means it is curable, and I'm here. And it's been 6 years, something like that. So there is a huge power in telling your own story, not just telling any story. But if the story is yours, then it sends the message in a different way. And ever since I knew the power in storytelling, I have been doing that continuously at every outreach I go to. I say, vaccinate your daughters. Here is my daughter. I now take her to my outreaches and say, she's had the vaccine. Nothing happened to her. In fact, the day she was vaccinated, she went to her Islamic school that day and she couldn't even remember where she had the vaccine. She was asking me, what arm did I get the vaccine? So it's not true that if you have the vaccination, you are going to get paralyzed. Here she is. She's not paralyzed. So she's a living evidence that vaccine is safe. And then I'm a living evidence that screening is useful. I'm a living evidence that cancer is not a death sentence. So when you share those personal stories and they can see it, then it's really a very important tool for behavior change, if you understand what I mean. So yes, that's what the whole documentary film and what we do in our advocacy outreaches is trying to portray. And it's also trying to portray the fact that it can happen to anybody. I mean, if I'm a gynecologist working in the gynae oncology unit treating women with cervical cancer, so it's more powerful when I give that story because I know about this disease. Come on. And then this is what I do all my life. Look at me working. This is what I do. These are the women I operate. So if I tell you, get the vaccine to protect your daughters, then it will make more sense than somebody arbitrarily who is probably a politician coming out to say get the vaccine. They'll say, oh, it's politics
as
again.
Someone who has had it and someone who treats it.
Who treats it? So, I mean, no one can know it like me because I have seen it from the patient perspective and from the clinician perspective. And somebody that does research into it. I've seen it from the researcher perspective. So, what other perspective? I seem to have all the perspectives, if you understand. So, I feel I am in a very good position to tell the cervical cancer story.
Sorry. I know you have a very busy schedule. Thank you for coming out to have this brief conversation. Just before you leave, I want to ask if there's one thing that you would like to see changed, or if there's one thing you'd like to tell people out there, what would that one thing be? Regardless whether it's in the healthcare system or not.
Well, that's a difficult one, quite a general question. But I think success is hard, but it's possible. And if people have struggled and succeeded, then you can also do it. Why I said it is hard is for people like us. I'll use me as an example. Like I said, I like telling stories from my own perspective. Combining gynae oncology with research, with administrative duties, with motherhood, with being a wife, with being a northerner. You know, there are so many expectations. Combining everything is difficult. There is no two words about it. It is difficult, but it is doable. And you can succeed in all those aspects. You can succeed in the home front, you can succeed in your clinical area, you can succeed in your administrative roles, and you can also succeed in research. But it is difficult. So I feel what then makes the balance between the hard work and the success is your determination. And having that determination also needs support system. So if you're determined, you have the support system, it is doable. Yes. So that determination is what keeps you going. You know, you struggle so much, you achieve 1 out of 10. You're determined to continue. One day you achieve 4 out of 10, and one day you go even higher. So the determination, the support system, and then that hard work will actually translate into success. So I think just don't give up.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma. Thank you very
All
much,
right,
ma.
you're welcome.